The third Rutte cabinet has been the cabinet of the Netherlands since the 26th of October 2017. It was formed by a coalition government of the political parties People's Party for Freedom and Democracy and Christian Union after the general election of 2017. The cabinet formation took 225 days, a record high in the Netherlands. The cabinet served during the late 2010s and the start of the 2020s. Notable issues during the third Rutte cabinet included the child care allowance affair, the farmers' protests and the COVID-19 pandemic in the Netherlands. The cabinet fell on the 15th of January 2021 as a response to a critical report about the child care allowance affair. The 2017 general election resulted in a House of Representatives where at least 4 parties would be required to form a coalition with a majority, who repeatedly stated during the campaign that his party would not govern with the VVD. Remained a possibility. The leaders of D66, the CDA, the PVDA, the VVD, the SP, GL and the CU stated that they would not enter a coalition with the PVV. Romer also said that the SP would not join a coalition with the VVD. The first proposed coalition was one involving the VVD, CDA, D66 and GA. This was the preferred coalition of Alexander Pechtold, Lodewijk Asscher and Gert-Jan Segers, while Jesse Klaver continued to argue that the major policy differences between GL and the VVD would make a coalition difficult. Nevertheless, the 4 parties began more serious negotiations toward a coalition agreement. The Nederlandse Omroepstichting reported that labor market reform, investment in law enforcement and additional money for nursing homes would be areas of agreement between the parties, while refugee policy, income distribution, climate and medical ethics issues are potential stumbling blocks. On the 15th of May, talks on the proposed 4-way VVD-CDA-D66-GL coalition failed. It was reported that the main dispute concerned immigration, but GL leader Jesse Klaver cited climate issues and income differences as other issues where the parties disagreed. The end of the talks was reported to be a consensus decision, with no party blaming any others. Coalition talks were reported to be at an impasse, with the VVD and CDA favoring a coalition with the CU, D66 favoring a coalition with either the PVDA or the SP. The SP being absolutely opposed to a coalition with the VVD. The CDA being opposed to a coalition without the VVD. The PVDA rejecting any coalition, and all parties with more than 5 seats rejecting a coalition with the PVV. D66 said that it would consider a coalition with the CU very difficult due to disagreements on medical ethical issues such as doctor-assisted suicide, due to the lack of representation of the political left within that coalition, and due to the small majority of 1 seat in both chambers, which could make for an unstable coalition. In late June 2017, discussions began again between the VVD, D66, the CDA and the CU under the lead of new informator Herman G. Quillink. After a 3-week summer break, talks resumed on the 9th of August 2017, and were reported to be close to a conclusion due to representatives of unions and employers organizations joining the discussions, which typically happens near the end of such negotiations. In September 2017, a budget deal compromise was reached allowing the coalition talks to continue. While still close to conclusion, it appeared likely that the talks about government formation would exceed the record since World War II of 208 days set in 1977. After 208 days of negotiations, the VVD, D66, CDA and CU agreed to a coalition under a third informator, Gerrit Zalm, and all members of the House of Representatives of the involved parties approved the agreement on 9 October 2017. On the 26th of October the new cabinet was formally installed, 225 days after the elections, setting a record for the longest cabinet formation in Dutch history. On the 7th of October 2019, the government lost its majority when Wybren van Haga, after being expelled from Rutte's VVD party for allegedly renovating a building he owned without the necessary permits, decided to sit as an independent. Had he resigned, Another member on the VVD electoral party list would have replaced him, maintaining Rutte's parliamentary majority of 1. According to Politico EU, Van Haga wrote he would vote with the government on established coalition policy, but would make his own decisions on future laws. The third Rutte cabinet repealed the Referendum Act passed in 2015. Although that proposal was written in none of the coalition parties' election platforms, it stated the law had not delivered what was expected. Results from the 2016 Ukraine-European Union Association Agreement referendum and 2018 Intelligence and Security Services Act referendum have been going against government proposals. The cabinet also deconstitutionalized the method of appointment of mayors and king's commissioners, thus allowing the method to be changed by law. The cabinet P.